On March 17, 2021, Tanzanians woke up to a very sad news. Their beloved president, John Magufuli, was officially declared dead, marking the end of one of Africa's most transformative presidencies. His death came after weeks of speculation about his health and whereabouts. For over 2 weeks, Magufuli had disappeared from public view, leading to rumors that he had contracted COVID-19, a virus he had long downplayed and dismissed as a Western conspiracy. Vice President Samia Suluhu Hassan announced his death in a televised address, stating that Magufuli died from a heart condition he had battled for a decade. However, many Tanzanians and international observers suspected he succumbed to COVID-19 complications, as several high-ranking Tanzanian officials had recently died under similar mysterious circumstances. The government, however, maintained the official explanation of heart failure. Following his death, Tanzania entered a 21-day mourning period. John Magufuli became the 5th president of Tanzania on November 5, 2015, after winning the general election as the candidate of the ruling Chama cha Mapinduzi party. His presidency was marked by a mix of strong leadership, anti-corruption campaigns, and controversial authoritarian tendencies. Magufuli earned the nickname the bulldozer for his tough stance on government inefficiency and corruption. He slashed public spending, reduced unnecessary foreign trips by officials, and launched major infrastructure projects like the Standard Gauge Railway, the Julius Nyerere hydropower project, and improvements in road and air transport networks. Under his leadership, Tanzania achieved significant growth in domestic revenue collection and advanced toward middle-income status by 2020. Magufuli also prioritized industrialization and free education at the primary and secondary levels. However, his rule was criticized for stifling dissent, restricting media freedom, and denying the seriousness of COVID-19. According to the Tanzanian constitution, the vice president of the country automatically assumes the presidency if the sitting president dies before completing the term. So, on March 19, 2021, Samia Suluhu Hassan, who was the vice president, was sworn in as the 6th president of Tanzania, becoming the country's first female head of state. Samia's rise was constitutionally smooth but politically delicate. She inherited a deeply divided nation, one torn between Magufuli's loyalists, who revered his anti-corruption stance and nationalist policies, and reformists who criticized his authoritarian tendencies and denial of the pandemic. Samia was initially well received. She freed political prisoners, restored both press and public freedom, and opened up Tanzania to more international engagements. But shortly after, her rule became authoritarian and dictatorial. Human rights watchdogs say her administration has overseen enforced disappearances, extrajudicial killings, and torture of opposition figures and activists. Media freedom has suffered. Journalists report harassment, and outlets are penalized for critical reporting. Opposition parties lament the electoral process, pointing to arrests, disqualifications, and exclusion of key challengers, undermining democratic norms. Simply put, Samia became the total opposite of Magufuli. On October 29, 2025, Tanzania held its presidential election, an election marked by controversy and the absence of major opposition candidates. President Samia Suluhu Hassan of the ruling Chama cha Mapinduzi party ran virtually unopposed after prominent opposition leaders were jailed, disqualified, or forced into exile. The election was widely criticized by international observers and human rights groups for lack of transparency, intimidation, and voter suppression. On November 1, 2025, the National Electoral Commission declared Samia Suluhu Hassan the winner with 98% of the vote, a result that sparked protests and accusations of authoritarianism across Tanzania. In this video, we shall be taking a deep dive into the life of Samia Suluhu, how she became president, her authoritarian and dictatorial rule, and why Tanzanians want her out. This is the story of high ambition, greed, and wickedness. This is the story of Samia Suluhu Hassan, the most ruthless and dangerous first female dictator in Africa. Samia Suluhu Hassan, a pioneering figure in Tanzanian politics and the country's first female head of state, was born on January 27, 1960, in Makunduchi, a small town on Unguja Island, part of the Zanzibar archipelago. She grew up in a modest, devout Muslim family where education and discipline were highly valued. Her father worked as a teacher, while her mother was a homemaker. Growing up during the early years of Tanzania's independence, Samia's worldview was shaped by the political climate of nation-building under President Julius Nyerere's socialist vision of Ujamaa, which emphasized community development and equality. Samia attended local schools in Zanzibar before enrolling at Zanzibar Secondary School, where she completed her secondary education in 1977. She later joined the Institute of Development Management, now Mazumbe University, in Morogoro, where she earned an advanced diploma in public administration. This training would become the foundation for her future roles in public service. Her early exposure to governance and administration motivated her to pursue a career in politics, a rare path for women in Tanzania at the time. Her professional journey began in the Zanzibar Revolutionary Government, where she worked in various administrative capacities. She started as a clerk and rose steadily through the ranks, serving as a project manager in a government development program. In the 1980s and early 1990s, Samia gained recognition for her efficiency and commitment to women's empowerment projects, earning the respect of both male and female colleagues in a society still heavily influenced by patriarchal norms. In 1988, she joined the Zanzibar House of Representatives, marking her official entry into active politics. She was appointed as a minister in the Zanzibar government, making her one of the few women to hold such a position at that time. Her performance in these early political roles reflected her pragmatic, calm, and consensus-driven approach. Samia quickly established a reputation for being intelligent, articulate, and dedicated to public service. Her political ascent continued when she decided to pursue higher education abroad. She attended the University of Manchester in the United Kingdom, where she obtained a master's degree in community economic development in 1994. This academic experience exposed her to global development theories and gave her an international perspective on governance and social equity. Upon her return to Tanzania, Samia's profile rose even higher. She became involved in several national and regional development programs, with a focus on gender equality and community planning. In 2000, Samia Suluhu entered national politics when she was elected as a member of the Zanzibar House of Representatives, representing the ruling Chama cha Mapinduzi party. Her leadership skills caught the attention of Zanzibar's then-president, Amani Abeid Karume, who appointed her as the Minister of Tourism, Trade and Investment in the semi-autonomous government of Zanzibar. This position gave her greater visibility and allowed her to demonstrate her managerial competence and diplomatic acumen. She successfully promoted Zanzibar's tourism industry, balancing economic growth with the preservation of cultural heritage and environmental sustainability. Her work in the Zanzibar government won her national recognition, and in 2010, she was elected to the National Assembly of Tanzania, representing the Makunduchi constituency. President Jakaya Kikwete appointed her as the Minister of State in the Vice President's Office for Union Affairs, a strategic role that required delicate negotiations between the mainland and Zanzibar, which historically had a complex political relationship. Samia handled this sensitive portfolio with skill, earning praise for her ability to mediate and maintain harmony between the two regions. During her time as a minister, she also played a key role in constitutional reform efforts. She served as vice chairperson of the Constituent Assembly, which was tasked with drafting Tanzania's new constitution in 2014. Her leadership during this process brought her into the national spotlight, showcasing her ability to manage debates and navigate political tensions among diverse ideological factions. Although the constitutional process faced challenges and was never fully completed, Samia's contribution was widely acknowledged as a display of competence and patience under pressure. By the time of the 2015 general elections, Samia had established herself as one of the most experienced and respected female politicians in Tanzania. That same year, the CCM's presidential candidate, John Pombe Magufuli, selected her as his running mate, marking a historic first in Tanzania's history. A woman running for the vice presidency on a major party ticket. Magufuli's decision was strategic. Samia's calm demeanor, experience in both the mainland and Zanzibar governments, and reputation for integrity helped balance Magufuli's tough and sometimes abrasive image. When Magufuli and Samia won the election in October 2015, she became Tanzania's first female vice president, a milestone that symbolized both progress and the deep-rooted challenges of women's participation in African politics. Her ascension inspired many young women across East Africa as she broke through barriers in a political culture long dominated by men. As vice president, Samia's responsibilities were extensive but often behind the scenes. She was instrumental in coordinating government programs and representing Tanzania in international forums. Despite her position, she often worked under the shadow of President Magufuli, whose leadership style was assertive and centralized. Magufuli's administration was characterized by a strict anti-corruption stance, massive infrastructure projects, and a controversial clampdown on dissent and media freedom. While some critics accused Samia of being complicit in his authoritarian tendencies, others saw her as a moderate voice within the government, quietly working to maintain internal balance. During her vice presidency, Samia focused heavily on social and economic development, advocating for gender equality and education. She often represented the president at key international events, including the United Nations General Assembly and the African Union summits, where she promoted Tanzania's development agenda and defended the country's domestic policies. Her diplomatic approach earned her respect on the global stage, even as Magufuli's confrontational tone sometimes alienated international partners. Samia also played a crucial role in implementing Magufuli's industrialization agenda, pushing for investment in local production and infrastructure. Her ability to navigate between the demands of a strong president and the expectations of a diverse public was remarkable. She managed to maintain loyalty within the ruling CCM while projecting an image of professionalism and competence. However, her time as vice president was not without challenges. The administration's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, which Magufuli famously dismissed as a Western conspiracy, put Tanzania under international scrutiny. Samia publicly echoed the government's official stance, but appeared more measured and cautious in her tone. When Magufuli mysteriously disappeared from public view in early 2021, speculation grew about his health, and Samia found herself in a delicate position, bound by loyalty, yet preparing for a potential leadership transition. On March 17, 2021, Samia Suluhu Hassan announced to the nation that President Magufuli had died of a heart condition. In accordance with Tanzania's constitution, she was sworn in as president on March 19, 2021, becoming not only Tanzania's first female president, but also the first woman in East Africa to assume the presidency through constitutional succession rather than election. By the time she became president, Samia had already built an impressive career rooted in decades of civil service, political negotiation, and leadership. Her journey from a small coastal town in Zanzibar to the highest office in the land reflected a blend of determination, intelligence, and strategic patience. Her early life in a traditional Muslim household, her education both in Tanzania and abroad, and her steady rise through the bureaucratic and political ranks prepared her for a leadership role that few women on the continent have achieved. Samia Suluhu Hassan's path to the vice presidency and ultimately the presidency, was not one of sudden leaps, but of consistent progress built on competence and perseverance. Her story stands as a testament to the slow but steady transformation of gender roles in African politics, where tradition, resilience, and ambition continue to intersect in shaping the continent's leadership landscape. Since assuming the presidency in March 2021, Samia Suluhu Hassan has been accused by domestic and international observers of a gradual drift toward authoritarian governance, marked by repression of opposition, curtailment of media freedom, and serious abuses of human rights. Although initially lauded for a softer tone compared to her predecessor, critics argue that her administration now exhibits many hallmarks of a soft dictatorship. One key element of the critique involves the coordinated targeting of opposition leaders. On the 9th of April 2025, the leader of the main opposition party, Tundu Lissu, was arrested following a rally call for electoral reform and charged with treason, a non-bailable offense carrying the death penalty. Observers note that the timing of his arrest, just ahead of the 2025 general election, and subsequent ban on his party's participation mark a serious blow to democratic competition. Beyond high-profile arrests, there are documented cases of abductions and killings of regime critics. In September 2024, for example, senior opposition official Mohammed Ali Kibao was abducted from a bus in Dar es Salaam and later found dead, with his face disfigured by acid burns, an act widely regarded as a political murder. Amid these incidents, legal accountability has been absent. Investigations have not resulted in prosecution of security agents or high-level officials. Media freedom and expression have also suffered. In October 2024, the newspaper Mwananchi Communications, publisher of The Citizen, had its online operations suspended by the regulatory authority after publishing an advertisement referencing dissident deaths under the Suluhu government. The regulator cited threats to national unity as justification. Meanwhile, human rights organizations report systematic patterns of enforced disappearances, torture, or cruel treatment of activists and political opponents. One such case involved foreign human rights activists in May 2025, who alleged they were abducted, blindfolded, and sexually assaulted while in Tanzanian custody. Ahead of the 2025 general election, the atmosphere of intimidation deepened. Opposition party meetings were banned or broken up, candidates disqualified, and internet or media outages were used to hinder dissent. A joint statement by regional rights organizations asserted that the regime had dismantled mechanisms for free and fair elections. The election itself, held on 29 October 2025, resulted in Suluhu's re-election with approximately 98% of the vote, amid mass protests, curfews, and allegations of dozens, or even hundreds, of fatalities in clashes with security forces. For several days now, Tanzanians have been protesting against President Samia Suluhu Hassan, primarily due to perceived authoritarianism, election manipulation, and suppression of dissent. The 2025 presidential election, held on October 29th, sparked widespread anger because major opposition leaders were arrested, disqualified, or forced into exile, leaving the ruling party, Chama cha Mapinduzi, virtually unchallenged. Citizens see this as a blatant undermining of democracy, where the election became a symbolic coronation rather than a competitive process. Many believe their votes no longer have meaning, creating frustration that has fueled mass protests in major cities like Dar es Salaam and Mwanza. Another major source of discontent is the government's crackdown on freedom of expression and civil society. Journalists have faced harassment, arbitrary arrests, and suspension of media outlets for reporting critically on the government. Internet and social media restrictions, particularly during the election period, further limited citizens' ability to communicate and mobilize. Human rights organizations report cases of enforced disappearances, torture, and extrajudicial killings of activists and opposition figures, leading to a climate of fear that protesters argue is unacceptable in a democratic society. Economic frustrations also play a role in the protests. Many Tanzanians, particularly the youth, face high unemployment, rising living costs, and limited social mobility. The lack of political alternatives amplifies these economic grievances, as young people feel trapped in a system that offers neither opportunity nor a voice in governance. Protesters often express that the combination of political repression and economic hardship has left ordinary citizens with little recourse other than public demonstration. There is also a sense of betrayal among Tanzanians, as Samia Suluhu initially came to power in 2021 amid hopes of reform after the controversial presidency of John Magufuli. Citizens expected greater openness, freedom of the press, and political inclusivity. While there were early signals of liberalization, many now feel these reforms were superficial. Instead, they see a continuation and even intensification of Magufuli-era practices, including manipulation of state institutions, suppression of opposition, and electoral interference, which has created a profound sense of distrust in the government. Finally, the violent response to protests has further inflamed public anger. Security forces have been deployed in major urban areas, curfews imposed, and clashes with demonstrators have resulted in multiple casualties. Reports indicate that dozens of protesters have been killed, and many more injured or arrested. This use of force has strengthened calls for the president to step down, as citizens view the administration as increasingly repressive and unaccountable. In summary, Tanzanians are protesting because they perceive a systematic erosion of democracy, political repression, economic frustration, and violent suppression of dissent under President Samia Suluhu. The combination of rigged elections, exclusion of opposition voices, censorship, human rights abuses, and a heavy-handed security response has led citizens to demand her removal or substantial political reform. The protests are not simply about policy disagreements. They reflect a profound desire for restoration of democratic governance, accountability, and citizen empowerment in Tanzania.